Hi guys, now is the beginning of the year, which is why I want to touch on this topic, which is the property market directions and my prediction for 2025. So stay tuned and I'll share more about the market direction. Basically, will the price continue to go up and what happened to different market segments like the HDB market, the private property market, as well as the rental markets. So if you are looking to sell or buy a property this year, I think it's important to have some information. Okay, so without further ado, let me start my sharing. All right, so first of all, I think there are a lot of mixed signal in the market. As far as the recent news, the analysts were saying that the market is going to see a correction of 5%. All right, so will the price really drop? Because there is the speculation of more cooling measures coming to the market. So I'll address this as well as whether or not this will really happen. Okay, so if you see this Morgan Stanley reports that Singapore faces risk of new property curbs and combined with influx of supply, it could lead to a 5% drop in price this year. So I want you to read this article with a pinch of salt. First of all, if you read all the way towards the last paragraph, it mentioned that Morgan Stanley has forecast a 3% decline in private home prices in 2024 and subsequently revised it to no change. So eventually, what really happened is Singapore property market did not drop. Talking about the private residential market, in fact, it actually rose by 3.9% last year. So is their prediction accurate? Well, I think we have to read it with a pinch of salt. So right now, there's a lot of mixed signal in the market. First of all, we look at the November sales launches. There were overwhelming response in the November sales, like Emerald Katong hit 99% sales at the launch, and this Chuan Park hit 76%. So it's overwhelming response. And who are these buyers? Why are the buyers all coming in during this period? Is it because they know something that we all don't know? So we also look at the recent update on the property market. Private home prices has increased by 2.3% in quarter four and taking the whole year gain to 3.9%. And for HDB resale prices, it has climbed to 2.5% in Q4 and 9.6% for 2024. So that's a very big jump, almost 10%. Today I saw this news that the Fed minutes suggest officials will hold rates steady for now. So a lot of us were anticipating that the interest rate will come down this year. But in fact, they actually decided to hold the rate cuts. So that means to say interest rate may not drop further. But on the other hand, we also saw that our Prime Minister announced that the Singapore economy grew by 4% in 2024, exceeding expectations. So there's a mixed signal of positive news as well as negative news. So how should we navigate from here? Is it the right time to go in, or should we actually wait? So first of all, I want to touch on this HDB market, okay, because we see that there's a strong growth in HDB of 9.6%. 9.6% is actually a very huge jump, right? So normally inflation is about 2 to 4%, but this is far exceeding the inflation by almost 10%. So I believe that the government will definitely look into this. But for private property market, right, you'll see that the whole year is only about 3.9%. So in my opinion, I think that this is still consider moderate growth. And if you want to see whether there will be a cooling measure, please look at my last video. We actually talked about what is my assessment of whether there will be a cooling measure and what is the impact of a cooling measure. But in summary, right, I would say that there's a less likelihood for a cooling measure for private property market at this point. But of course, we will have to monitor for the next few quarters whether this growth will continue. If the next 2 quarters we see strong growth of 2 to 4% every quarter, maybe the government could consider to have a cooling measure on private property. But for HDB, right, looking at the growth rate of 9.6%, I would think that the government may look into coming out with cooling measure. Okay, so most likely the cooling measure will be focused on the HDB market. But before that, right, actually the government has already implemented a number of cooling measures. If you observe the last cooling measure, is also focusing on the HDB market, like the 15 months cooling off period to sell the HDB. And they also moderated the loan to value for HDB loan from 80% to 75%. So if you look into all this, right, it's actually controlling, trying to moderate the growth for HDB. But of course, cooling measure will take some time to take to effect. And in fact, the government has also been ramping up HDB supply over the years. So, but of course, all this supply will take some time to come in. And they also try to speed up the construction of BTO by using improved methods. So we can see that all these are pointing towards that one direction, that the government do not want the HDB price to continue to grow at such a overwhelming rate. Okay. So my assessment of the HDB market will be most likely there will be a muted or slower growth this year. Especially, I think the election is coming. Okay, I don't think the government will allow the HDB price to go out of control, because if the HDB is going to be more and more expensive, definitely our Singapore citizens will not be happy. All right. So, but of course, the government intent is never to crash the market. So if you're expecting the HDB to have a major correction like 10 to 20% per annum, I think it's unlikely to happen. All right. In fact, I think it may continue to grow, but at a slower pace. So if you look at the chart, right, this is one of the chart that I've done for my client. So I actually share that in the past, right, if you notice, HDB price has slowed down. In fact, it has a major dip between 2012 to 2016. Okay, so what causes it? Actually, if you notice the BTO supply back in 2011, the government has already started to pump out the supply to about 25,000 a year. Okay, for 2011 to 2014, it has been average about 25,000. Okay, but if you notice in the past, right, between 2011 to 2012, right, the price did not really drop. In fact, it continued to climb. Okay, only until early 2013, then it started to it started to peak, and then it started to fall. So what I'm trying to say is that all these measures, right, and the ramping out of supply will take some time to take into effect, because it takes tons to construct the HDB. Right, so once the supply stabilizes, right, definitely I think the demand will sway away from the resale market to the BTO. So do not time the market, but what I'm trying to say is that most likely all these measures, right, will definitely have an impact on HDB. Okay, but as to when it will start to peak, nobody will know the answer. But my assessment is that I think it's almost time that the HDB market will start to peak, or the growth will start to moderate. So do not wait until the price start to peak or go down, then you start to take action, because by the time you start to take action, it may be too late. So if we observe, right, for HDB market, it takes almost 8 to 9 years to recover from 2013 all the way to 2021. It actually only recover back to the same price. Only until 2022 it start to go back up. So for those who actually enter the market around the 2013 period, they did not make any money for HDB. So only until now, then they see growth. Okay, so I would say that especially those who actually enter during the 2013, you may want to consider to cash it out your HDB at a very good price now. But what to do next? You want to sell and then wait for the market to dip? Okay, so I'll cover on the next segment, which is the private property market. Okay, so before that, just to highlight for HDB, right, if you notice, the supply has been ramped up from 2022 onwards. In fact, there was this news article, right, that talked about HDB has ramped up BTO projects with 150 to be built at same time by 2025. And of course, HDB will launch the HDB flats with waiting time under 3 years. So they are going to speed up all this construction. So if you notice the supply for the next, in fact, for 2022, 2023, it has all been about 22,000, 23,000 per year. So that is a high supply, high number of BTO spreads. So with this, I would like to conclude that I don't think HDB market will continue to climb like what it did for the past 2 to 3 years. It will start to moderate. And in fact, I think that if you're thinking to upgrade, perhaps this is the right time to consider. Okay, so now let's look at the private property market. So we have seen that the private property market, right, in the past between 2013 to 2017, there was a large number of supply. In fact, for the period between 2013 to 2017, it was about 100,000. So which means to say every year there's about 20,000, 20,000+ number of units in the market. All right. In fact, at one point it was so high at 25,000 in 2015 and 30,000 in 2016. So even at this large supply, right, our property price really has a major correction. If we notice from my chart here, right, you will notice that between 2013 and 2016, the private property price only dipped by 1.96%. So it was a very minor correction, okay, despite the large number of supply. So going back to the past few years supply, right, between this chart is showing between 2020 to 2023. If you notice, the number of supply has started to stabilize between 11,000, 15,000, and 19,000. So it was much lower than what it was between 2013 to 2017. Okay, so with this number of supply drop, right, you can see that the price of the private property is start to recover from that point onward, from 2016. And of course, because of COVID, 2020, it start to have a major climb in the property price. So overall, we start to see a reversal of the price trend starting from 2016 when the supply start to stabilize. So the next golden question is, what is the price going to be like for 2025 and beyond? Okay, so I done out my analysis here on the TOP supply for this year, 2025, all the way until 2028 and beyond. So if you notice from this, right, from this chart, what is the number of supply? 2025 is only about 6,000 plus. Okay, 2026 is only about 7,000 plus to 8,000, and 2027 is only about 11,000 of number of condos that's going to TOP. And 2028 is significantly low, only about slightly above 5,000. Okay, so we can see that the next few years supplies, in fact, from this year onwards, we are going to see a low number of projects that's going to be in the market. So these are TOP means the owner can actually collect key and move in. So with the number of supply being lower, right, what will happen to the price? Let me know your opinion. Before I go into my analysis, right, please at this point help me to like, subscribe, and comment, because all these videos I have used out a lot of my time to come up with the analysis and all these charts. So I appreciate your early thumbs up. Okay, so with this number of supply, right, I would think that most probably the prices will start to climb. Okay, of course, at what rate we will know. Of course, the government will not allow the property price to go up by a lot also. But with this trend in mind, right, I would think that most likely there will be a strong demand, and prices, because of the low supply, prices will continue to climb. And for HDB, it will continue to moderate and slow growth. So with this, right, I would say that especially for the HDB owner, if you are thinking to upgrade, right, this may be a good time to consider to cash out from your HDB and upgrade to a condo, because I will think that the disparity between the private and HDB will continue to widen, and especially for resale market, okay, because the number of condos that's going to TOP will be lesser, meaning to say that buyers who are looking for immediate own stay, right, they will have to pay a premium because of the low number of supply in the market. So for private resale, I think that this year there will be a jump in private resale prices, and I think that the gap between the new launch and the private will continue to be narrower, meaning to say that it may be a good opportunity to look at the new launch market, because I think that if the price gap between the private resale and new launch is small, right, which means to say that there's an opportunity to consider to enter the new launch market, because brand new condo should not be the same price as a resale. So when the price is about the same or very small gap, then the risk of going to a new launch will be very low. Okay, this is my personal opinion. It may or may not happen, but this is my prediction. Okay, so for rental market, especially for private rental, because of the low number of supply, meaning to say that there are less number of units in the market. So I would think that there will also be demand for rental. So this year probably the rental price will also start to go up. So it may be good news for landlords that you can find that your unit is easier to rent out and at a better price. Okay, unless there's other cooling measures that impact all this, or the government control the number of foreigners coming to Singapore. So in summary, right, I would say that it is definitely a good time to consider to upgrade. Okay, whether or not you want to upgrade to a condominium or just to upgrade your HDB from a, let's say, a 4-room flat to a 5-room flat or executive apartment, or if you can, upgrade to a landed or condo. So I think that it's definitely a good time to consider, okay, because you don't want to wait until your prices start to drop, then you consider to upgrade, right? And I think that because of the low supply for these few years, definitely it's a good timing to go in, okay? Because if you are looking to go into the market when the supply is high, it probably will be year 2028 to 2029, and that will be another 3 years or 4 years later. Because a lot of people are very confused. In the news, they talk about, like the Morgan Stanley was saying that there's a high supply, but this high supply is talking about the new launch or the resale. So in my opinion, I think they are talking about the new launch, okay? Because you can see that last year there was a record number of GLS, and this year there's also going to be a lot of new launches coming to the market. For the first half of this year, there's already going to be about 9,000 units to be launched. Okay, that seems like a huge number, but actually all these are not going to impact the TOP supply, because the TOP supply will take some time to come in. Okay, that means to say if you launch this year, this new unit will come in only in 2029 or 2030. So it will not affect the supply for the next few years. Okay, because they can't possibly build a condo within 1 or 2 years. So next few years will still be under supply. So probably a good time to go in will be considered this year. Okay, because you don't want to wait until probably 2029 or 2030 will be high supply era. Okay, but until then, there will be another price jump. Okay, so that may be another opportunity to consider to go in. But you do not want to wait until 3-4 years later when our price has reached a new benchmark. Okay, so with this, I would like to end my video, and I hope that every one of you have a very good new year, and may this year be a hot year for you. So if you need any advice or you need any consultation, feel free to reach out to me at my number here. So please help me to actually comment below your opinion. If you think that you have differing opinions from my analysis, feel free to comment below and let me know what do you think, whether my assessment is correct or wrong. I may not be 100% right. Okay, so I'm open to any comments. Okay, feel free to leave me your opinion. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.